this is Robert Campbell here, and basically earlier in the week, I basically said I was going to go ahead and do a quick overview of how I felt about TNA Wrestling in general, and this is going to be this video for this. If you haven't watched it, and I know there's plenty of people who haven't watched it, back on May the 10th, right before the TNA Impact Sacrifice pay-per-view, I gave the show an extremely bad review, mostly because of the fact, not because of in-ring action and how I felt it was, but because of how they were running their storylines at the time, and just at that point in time in general, how they did not seem like they were pushing the stars properly and also using their storylines in a proper manner. It felt completely jumbled, and it just felt completely jumbled, incoherent, and had no use of selling their pay-per-view at that time. Now, since then, I haven't done a review for those past 4.5 months. I have still continued watching TNA Impact on a weekly basis, watch the pay-per-views, and do what I like to do, which is basically enjoy watching wrestling in general. So over that 4-month period, my thoughts have changed a little bit, and for the most part, because for the first time since watching TNA Impact in quite some time, I found it to be enjoyable, not just in the terms of in-ring action standpoint, because they've always been extremely good in the ring. All matches have been really good. Ring action-wise, TNA Impact has always been on the ball, always been top-notch at that in that aspect, whether it be on the Impact show or the pay-per-view itself. Now, where my thoughts have changed a bit has been on the storylines. And this is basically also coinciding a little bit with a particular writer that has been let go, basically Vince Russo. He had been let go within that time frame. And from the point that he was gone from the company to here and now, I've noticed a very considerable change inside of TNA Impact's storylines, which is mainly they're coherent, they make sense, they're enjoyable, and that's basically all you need to do to make good wrestling. Outside of having good in-ring action, you just need to make a coherent, enjoyable storyline. And over these past 4 months, I found it to be extremely enjoyable. Not just in terms of in-ring, but in the terms of story. The whole Bound for Glory series thing, the way they built that up, was extremely well done. They seem to make every match seem very important, regardless of when it was or how, or like who it was against at that point in time. Now, granted, you had a lot of big guys in there, and the story for just the Bound for Glory series, I felt was done phenomenally well. And probably my only downside was that Bully Ray didn't actually just win the Bound for Glory series, but in all, it was extremely well done. I can get into Bully Ray if I really want to here in a minute or two, but that's just been my aspect towards TNA Impact in general over the years, where, you know, in-ring action's always been good, and for some people that's all they need is just good in-ring action, and they can enjoy the show. For a lot of other people, they definitely, and especially a more casual audience, they need at least a decent storyline, something to get behind. And in a lot of cases, there was nothing really to get behind inside of there, because a lot of the storylines were just incoherent, were not enjoyable, or they did shock value for the sake of shock value. One thing that I was glad that they eventually just ended in general was this whole Christopher Daniels blackmailing AJ Styles deal, and honestly, I felt like they could have ended it after the whole affair. That whole story portion of the storyline, that was okay. It was when they got into the Claire Lynch area where, you know, they went the predictable route with it, and they said he was the father of the baby. Just the way they ended out ending that in general, I thought they did an okay job at that. That was probably the only down point really for me in the last 4 months, was that particular storyline, just because it wasn't really enjoyable to watch them go out there and do everything in the terms of blackmail when it came to the terms of Claire Lynch and having the baby and all that kind of jazz in that aspect. But otherwise, storylines have been extremely well done. The building of stars in general had been really well over the last 4 months. Building up Austin Aries. Now, they've been building up Austin Aries before that, as well as guys like Bobby Roode. Those were a couple guys that they've been building up for a while, and I will say they were doing an extremely good job, especially with, like I said, Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, Bully Ray, a few others. The whole Joseph Parks thing, I thought I wasn't going to enjoy the Joseph Parks storyline, but I find it to be a lot more enjoyable than I thought it would have been. The Aces and Eights storyline that's going on right now, that's been pretty well done with maybe a few little hitches of them going a little too far over the top with it, but it hasn't been an over the top storyline. It's been well done, well produced, well told up to this point. So that's basically been my thoughts on TNA for what's been going on in the past 4.5 months. My views have changed. I'm finding the shows a lot more enjoyable in the terms of just storytelling in general. So that's always a good thing, at least in my mind. And just for another note, I am in the Phoenix area. I do have tickets for Bound for Glory, so I'm going to attempt to do like not something in the arena, with the terms of doing something camera like a review there or anything. But I'm going to do a review on Bound for Glory and give an honest fans interaction inside of the show of how I felt like it was inside of the show at that point in time. This will be the first time I get to see Impact Wrestling live, so hopefully it'll be basically, I've been to plenty of the other wrestling events in the past, so hopefully it'll just be a lot like that, where the experience is just completely different live than what it is watching on TV. So that's in the near future. I will be doing reviews for the TNA Impact Wrestling shows, WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown, starting on Monday. So I hope you enjoyed my overview and thoughts of TNA Impact for the past 4.5 months, and I hope you guys will be enjoying